Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Dr. Herbert Harris, and this is Success Mentorship Call number 126. Wow. It's been a great trip, folks, hasn't it? Remind everybody that most of the material we cover today in our Success Mentorship class comes from our book, The 12 Universal Laws of Success. And if you don't have one, you need to get one right away. And you can get one at www.12, that's the number 12uls.com, or you can get it on Amazon. All right, but be sure to get your book. Our topic for today is wealth building in challenging times. And I'd like to open with a quote from Ayn Rand. And it says that wealth is the product of man's capacity to think. Wealth is the product of man's capacity to think. And so this goes beyond, we might say, the traditional definition of wealth as material possessions, money, cars, and things like that. I'm often asked, what's the difference between wealth building in prosperous times and wealth building in challenging times? And it's really about the environment, the vibration in which we're operating. Everything we do is in a particular vibration. Every activity, every thought is in a vibration. We have our vibration of ourselves, that individual vibration, and you also have a vibration of the external world. And so when you're in prosperous times, that often means that the vibration of the external world and your vibration and the people around you, their vibration is congruent and everything works. Everything is beautiful. And we've seen those times, what was it, during the 60s when the Kennedy, they called it Camelot, when just everything seems to go right. You know, anything you touch, you succeed at. You basically cannot fail. But then wealth building in challenging times has another perspective. It's almost as though you're going against the grain. It says, you know, when all about you are losing their minds and blaming it on you, in challenging times, the world vibration is often contrary to the vibration, your own vibrations. And so the difference between wealth building in trying times or challenging times and wealth building in prosperous times is that there's a lot, you might say, the margin for error is different. So in wealth building in challenging times, you can't make some of the mistakes that you may make in prosperous times. It's almost as though if you looked at success as a ladder and you're climbing up that success, if you stumble and fall, you know, the first 1 or 2 rungs of the ladder, no problem. But when you get up 10, 12, 15 feet up the success ladder, when you stumble and fall, then it can be a different story. And so wealth building in trying times is how to, I'll call it straighten up and fly right. That's one of my dad's sayings. You know, whenever things were challenging, whenever there was a lot of stuff going on, my dad used to say, Herbert, you got to straighten up and fly right. And I often wondered what he meant. Eventually I understood, and it really says in trying times, in challenging times, you have to know where you're going and you have to be clear on how to get there. I know that for myself, when I have faced challenging times, there was that period, and maybe it's so for you also, there was that period in which my ego kept me from getting help. You know, when I thought I had all the answers, when I thought that my vibration was the only vibration in the universe, and the results that I got were not positive. There comes a time where the challenging environment in which you exist is so profound that you have to set aside your ego and you have to get help. You have to say, let me find somebody who's been through this. Let me touch with a person who's been where I'm trying to go. And so the lesson today is really a distillation of many of the things that I learned from people who had been where I was trying to go, who had been through the challenge that I had been through. And so for our listeners today, by the way, those of you on Facebook, please share this with your people, with your friends, your influence group. So whenever I was in trying times, I finally set aside my ego and got help. And when I talked to people who'd been there before, it was amazing. It was almost as though they were waiting for me to ask. And I guess when you've been through those challenging times before, you know that they're coming. You know that they're going to manifest. But you also know that you can't really guide somebody unless they come to you seeking. You only find when you seek. You only get answers when you ask. You only have doors open when you knock. And so when we get to that point in our lives where we've just sort of run out of options, that's when you go and you get somebody. And so what I'm sharing today is really a distillation of the things that were shared with me by people who've been through the fire, who've been through, you name it. They like I say, if they were a pilot, they had learned to fly, they had crashed and burned, and they flew again. So when we talk about wealth building, the purpose of our quote was to get away from wealth, to look at wealth as not material possession. You know, in prosperous times, and I'll tell you, I'm a network marketer, and, you know, I guess 3 times in my life, I've had that environment, that situation where everything I did worked. And not only that, whenever in this harmonic universe in which we live, if I was having that type of prosperity for a sustained period, the people around me were having that same type of prosperity. One of the interesting things about network marketing is that to become more successful, the more people you help become successful, the more successful you will be. So when we had those times of prosperity, wealth was about cars and houses and vacations and trips to exotic places and watches, and it was had a very materialistic aspect to it. But when you're in trying times, it really becomes clear that wealth is not about material possessions. Wealth is really about your value system, what is important to you. And so when we look at wealth building in trying times, look at the times we're in right now. Right now, we're in the middle of a pandemic, a political revolution, social upheaval. So many things are going on right now that when we say, well, what is wealth in this context? Wealth in this context is about, number one, wealth is about health. Because in this environment, it becomes so clear that the healthier you are, that the stronger your immune system, that the quality of life that you have lived for yourself in preserving your physical body, your mental body, your spiritual body, your emotional body is very, very important. And so when we talk about wealth building in times challenging times right now, we need to talk about health. What can we do to keep our bodies healthy, keep our minds healthy? When we talk about wealth building, now we have to talk about family. So when I say, well, what is my measure of wealth? Now my measure of wealth is my health. Our measure of wealth is our families. Who are the people now that we permit to come into our life, to come into our space, to come into our homes, to come into our environment? Because living through a pandemic, it's not clear. The Rock was on TV the other day, and he was sharing that he had the coronavirus, and that he was very diligent about protecting himself, but he had a family gathering, and one of the family members gave it to him and his family, and the family member didn't even know they had it. And so family, the people we permit to come around us, not just blood relatives, but people we feel enough respect for, enough love for, that we permit them to come into our space, knowing that we really have to rely on their ability to be healthy, because it could impact us negatively. When we talk about wealth building in challenging times, we have to talk about time. Because in challenging times, there's so many vibrations out there, universal negative vibrations out there, that you have to be totally clear about how you allocate your time, because each of us alive has the same number of seconds in a minute, same number of minutes in an hour, same number of hours in a day. So when we talk about challenging times, how we allocate, how we use those minutes, those seconds, that we live from moment to moment with that time question: what is the best use of my time right now, when I consider my goals, my vision, and my purpose? We also have to be aware of money substance. And I'm calling it money substance because really and truly, we must get away from the idea that money is dollars or gold or silver. Money is a common means of exchange. You know, there was a time when rocks were considered money, shiny rocks. The Indians, they often say that Manhattan Island was bought for about $24 worth of shiny jewelry. And so money substance, in other words, a means to exchange value, must be important. And so it is in this context that we now look at how we go forward in these challenging times. Number one, take responsibility for your life and affairs. That when we find ourselves in this present situation, we have to take responsibility. We have to really say to ourselves that we are where we are right now, and the power of now is awesome. We are where we are right now because of our thoughts, our emotions, our habits, and our associations. And so we must look at where we are right now as the end product of these things: our thoughts, our emotions, our associations, our habits. And so the first step to wealth building in challenging times is to make an assessment of where we are right now based on at least those four variables or four metrics. There are other things, but those are the four basics. Many times we look at our past failures, our past hurts, and things that have gone on in the past that have greatly impacted our lives, and we can say we did not have any power over that, and that may be true. But we always have power over how we respond to external circumstances, how we respond to internal hurts, how we respond to the things that have happened in our lives, good and bad. So we choose the ownership of our present condition. As it says, choose this day whom you will serve. You can serve the vibration of the pandemic, of negativity, sickness, and death, or you can serve the dynamic of success, of wealth, of true wealth and positive values. So there's a beautiful affirmation that I'd love to share with you, because from this day forward, every day when you get up, you should look in that mirror and say, if it's to be, it's up to me. I'll say that again. If it's to be, it's up to me. Now, not only must we take responsibility for where we are, we must also take responsibility now for where we go to, where we move to, the direction of our lives from this moment forward, taking into consideration the challenging times that we exist, in which we exist. Recognize that going forward is about choices, and be committed to make positive choices. Step 2, to realize that everything begins in thought. This is a reaffirmation of the first law of success, that a mind shall have whatsoever it thinks in its heart. A mind shall have whatsoever the thought and the feeling about that thought manifest. So in this period of challenging times, don't think anything that you don't want. Choose the thoughts that you permit to come into your mind, to come into your life. Thoughts of health, thoughts of family, thoughts of money substance, thoughts of proper allocation of your time. You see, when you look at everything, when you recognize that everything begins in thought, we can look at an external situation, but not accept the vibration of that external situation. Every situation, every created entity has a vibration. So because we have thought, and we know that our world emanates from our thoughts, then we can look at an external circumstance as a pandemic, and we can have positive thoughts. So we can, and based on the thoughts, we create the vibration inside, the feeling, which then attracts that thing into our lives. So many of us, when the lockdown came, there are so many people that have been stressed out and uptight because they can't go out and see their friends, they can't go out to restaurants. But many of us, when we looked at the lockdown situation, we said, wow, what a great opportunity to renew my acquaintance with myself. We can change the dynamic of the challenging time into an empowering dynamic that gives us the opportunity to rise above it. Don't be bound up by what's never been done. Because one of the profound laws of the universe is, if the thought comes into your mind, it's possible. You cannot have a thought that you cannot manifest. That's the law of energy, the law of conservation of energy. That if you have a thought, if you recognize a thought in your mind, you have the capacity to manifest it. Now, you may not understand it based on your level of consciousness at this particular time, but the power of faith is that if you have a vision of something you want to do, be, and have, and you totally are committed to that vision, it will manifest. It will manifest in accordance with the nature of the vision. So the Wright brothers didn't sprout wings, but they used their technological understanding to create a motor and an airplane. The end result was they flew. So change our perspective from these are challenging times of pandemic and negativity to these are challenging times of great opportunity. That I can do some of the things I've been setting on the back burner because there was so much external vibrations going on in my life, I couldn't focus. But now with this pandemic experience, I can focus. Number 3, write your vision. And now you notice, folks, that we say this so often because it's true. The process for creating the life of your desires is the law of success. No different than the law of gravity. If you jump out the window, you're going to head for the ground. And so we keep saying these things over and over so that the laws become burned in your heart, in your spirit. So when we say, write the vision, we know that passage from the Habakkuk that says, write the vision and make it plain upon tablets that he may run that readeth it. That if you don't write the vision, it will not manifest in accordance with the way you want it. There's also an interesting principle that says, where there's no vision, the people perish. But conversely, where there is a vision, you prosper. And so even in challenging times, if you can create a vision of the life you desire, you will achieve it and prosper. So we must develop a vision. It may be a new vision of what wealth means. It's not about money as it used to be. A new vision of wealth of health. A new vision of wealth as family. A new vision of wealth as money substance. Means of exchange. A new vision of wealth as time properly used. Step 4. Once we've created that new vision, and that's a profound step, folks. Every thought we have is a vibration. There's a vibration associated with it. And so when we create that new vision, what we recognize, we energize. So just putting our conscious mind on a particular outcome that we desire, we energize it through our feeling nature. And if we let that feeling nature manifest, let that desire become a burning desire, it will manifest in our lives. So what you recognize, what you see, and what you feel, what you recognize, you energize, and what you energize, you realize. Based on the vibrations of that which we seek, and us identifying and becoming harmonic with those vibrations, the world manifests. So step 4 is now make necessary changes in your life. See, now this is a part that so many of us miss. We'll do all the other stuff, write the vision, say the affirmations, but we don't make the necessary changes in our life. We must make changes in our thoughts, in our emotions, in our habits, in our associations that will support and be congruent with the new vision that we have of wealth. So now we have to make changes in our thinking, in our feelings, in our habits, in our relationships. Once you start the idea of making these changes, then you start replacing concepts. So you may replace thoughts of impossible to thoughts of possible. You may replace emotions of fear with emotions of faith. You may replace bad habits with empowering habits. You may replace negative relationships with positive relationships with people who love you. But this 4th step is critical, because if you do not make the changes in your life, that which you're seeking will not come. If you had already incorporated those changes into your life, that which you're seeking would already have manifested. Step 5, build a team. Build a team. There's a certain spiritual principle, the mastermind principle. And it says, when 2 or more are gathered on one accord, I am among them. Let me say it again. When 2 or more are gathered on one accord, I am among them. And so when you start to build a team, what you're really doing is seeking out other people who have expertise, who have knowledge. You're seeking out the benefits of counsel that can then create a vibration within you that makes 1 + 1 more than 2. I can't overimpress this idea of creating a team, because there's certain knowledge. Your ego acts almost like a prison cell, because it keeps telling you that you know everything and that you're right. But our knowledge, our feelings of right and wrong are based on a value system that may have been created in a corrupt past, that may have been created in a vibration where we grew up of not being loved or being criticized. And so our own thinking may not be sufficient to take us where we need to go. And so that is why you must create a team. You must get with people who are going in the same direction, people who know more than you do. As my dad said, people who know how to fly right. When you connect up with these people, you have to really make your ego submit so you can listen. So many times people come and ask for advice, and they spend all the time telling me how great they are. Well, then why are you in the situation you're in? Because you have not suppressed your ego to be open to let another vibration in. That vibration, that harmonic of the other people can create an uplifting power. Now, you can't build a team of the wrong people. Sometimes they say birds of a feather flock together. It's possible to surround yourself with the wrong people, but then the vibrations that you create will deliver in kind, and you can tell if it's not happening the way you want it to happen. It's a good clue that you may be surrounded by the wrong people. Step 6, you must make a written plan. Without a written plan, it's not going to happen. So often people do our affirmations and read our goals over 3 and 4 times a day, but without a written plan to achieve those goals, it does not happen. You see, the plan gives you activity and focus. So when you have a plan, it gives you a direction in which to project your energy, to create a harmonic relationship between that which you are and that which you're seeking to become. And that then creates a magnetic attraction that pulls all the stuff that you want into your life. This written plan is critical. This written plan is critical. And one of the beauties of it is when you have a team in place, people you trust, and you share your plan with them, they can give input to make your plan better. The Creator really created our ego to give us desire, but it also created the need to control our ego to give us access to greater powers. And so the written plan now collaborated with the people that you trust and your team members and the folks that you getting guidance and assistance from can then become a powerful roadmap to get where you want to go. Step 7. The law of manifestation always requires action. Since everything is a vibration, when you act, you are literally creating a vibration. You know, if you jump in the water and don't move, you'll sink and drown sooner or later. So in order to swim in the sea of life, you have to start stroking, you have to start moving. And it's that way about everything. Once you have your goals, once you have your plans, then you must take action so that they can manifest. And the action that you take can be so purposeful. And all of these things now are congruent with your vision. We're talking about action. We were analyzing, Sandra and I were analyzing where we are right now in this country in our lives. And one of the issues is one who goes to the grocery store, I don't know if you've noticed it, but more and more shelves you'll find empty. And this may be a forerunner for a food scarcity. Sandra said, you know, we better do like we did in the old days. I'm like, what do you mean? We need to plant some stuff. And so she went out and she bought seeds. Now, think about this. I am not a country boy. I don't even like getting dirty. Okay. I'm probably the example of an Urkel before there was an Urkel. But Sandra was a farm person. She grew up on the farm. So when we put our consciousness together, she got the seeds. I helped followed her direction. She planted them. And lo and behold, we have cucumbers. I had no idea how cucumbers grew. We have squash, corn, the next cycle. And so that action plan now is congruent with the conditions that we find ourselves in. And so when we take that continuous action and doing those things, stuff manifests. It begins to happen. We have to live each day with commitment and passion for realizing the vision that we're seeking. It's through the daily activity, the daily continuous action that we create a vibration, a harmonic vibration of attraction that pulls into our life that we're seeking. Step number 8, monitor your progress. We have to monitor our results on a daily basis. And so much of the universal law is incorporated into what we do. So the universal law says the sun rises in the morning and sets in the afternoon. There's a daily accountability for the going forth of our world. Similarly, there must be a daily accountability to the going forth of your world towards manifesting the world that you want to experience. So we have to constantly monitor the production, the results that we produce each day, and then act accordingly. And so if we're getting results, increase the activity. If the right things are going on, make more of them happen. You'll create a greater vibration, which brings even more good things into your life. Give each plan enough opportunity to manifest and to get results. When you monitor your progress, you may only see just small incremental changes, but you then know that if you continue that plan, those small incremental changes will grow. We often say, you know the story, they say if you double a penny a day for 30 days, at the end of that time, you'll be a millionaire. And it sounds impossible when you hear it, but when you see it, and you monitor your progress, and so you go from 2 cents to 4 cents to 8 cents to 16 to 32, that by the time you go down 12 generations, you'll have millions of dollars. Finally, number 9, keep going and growing. Keep going and growing. The process of realization is one of continuous growth. When we look at the plants outside, they grow continuously based on the season. We live in the season of man and the season of God, and so we grow continuously by executing our plans to realize the vision that we say we have. When you keep going and growing, it creates within you a vibration of results, a habit of results, so that after a certain amount of time, it is done. So let's recap briefly. Wealth building in challenging times is really about setting values, new values, because wealth is accumulation of value. New values such as your health, your family, your proper execution of your time, your money substance, that which you exchange with others. Manifesting the life you desire, building that wealth in these challenging times requires you to take responsibility for what you do, for what you create. To realize that everything begins in thought, so to control your thinking and choose thoughts that are congruent with the vision you have. Number 3, write the vision and make it plain, and write the vision in such detail and such sensory terms that you can feel it, you can smell it, you can taste it. Number 4, make the necessary changes. Set your ego aside, recognize what you don't know so that you can find the way to what you do want. Number 5, build yourself a team. Surround yourself with congruent people, people who are on the same vibration, who are going in the same direction, so that you can take advantage of the mastermind principle and multiply and magnify your efforts. Number 6, develop a written plan and put the time into that written plan, because that written plan becomes the recipe for your success. Just as you diligently follow a recipe to create the cake of your desire, you must diligently follow your written plan to create the life that you desire. Number 7, the rubber hits the road. It's all about action. Activity creates vibration. Vibration creates results. Continuous action, consistent action, daily action. Number 8, Monitor your progress so that you can continue to grow, so that you can continue to understand more. Each day as you move along your success journey, the consciousness, not the consciousness that you develop from having gone through the previous day now makes you a new person for the new day. So monitor your progress so that you can make the changes accordingly. And then finally, just keep going and growing. Know that there will be setbacks. Know that there will be disappointments. But look at everything as a growing experience, having total faith in the outcome you desire. So wealth building in challenging times is just a more focused application of wealth building in prosperous times. When you can do these things, my friends, you can create the life of your dreams. You can live your life by design, knowing always that the best is yet to come. And so it is. Thank you so much for being here, folks. It's been my divine blessing to be able to serve you each Saturday morning. As we close, I want you to do two things. Number one, if you don't have a copy of the book, get your book. Get it from Amazon or get it from www.12uls, but get your book, because without the book, you're just hearing words. With the book, you have the recipe. And then second, become a part of the Success Mentorship Network. You know, that step 5, that build a team, the Success Mentorship Network is a group of positive people like yourselves who work together to create a new world for themselves. So join our Success Mentorship Network. Go to the website, patreon.com/Success Mentorship Network. The link should be in the post under this video. But whatever you do, folks, take action. These challenging times say you can no longer half step. You can no longer do things when you get around to it. You have to do it now. Use the power, the vibration, the energy of now to create the world of your desires.